The one thing that we've been very fortunate in Ottawa is that it's a small community, and therefore the likelihoods of groups, small cadres separating out and forming their own group was fairly small. And we've been very fortunate in that whenever people like, we've got a group called Nandishiko no Kai, and they're basically a group of ladies from Japan who want to get together socially because they're comfortable speaking Japanese to each other. And they come under the guise or the umbrella of our community association. And so we've been very fortunate in having people, young people coming from Japan. Now these people have been a very strong contributor to our own cultural center board because they've become actively involved in our community. And B, they bring something that the Canadian-born Japanese don't really have. They have an ability to speak the language, and they at least have a working knowledge of some of the Japanese cultural activities. This room that you see behind me was done by just such a person. I mean, Frank Blander was a member of our board in the early 90s, and as I indicated, when the woman that was a very strong supporter of our Japanese community, Mrs. Yamazaki, passed away, there was a fairly large influx of donations in her memory, and we were sitting around trying to figure out what to do with the money. And Frank made the suggestion that we should have a little tea room built within our culture center. And so he and a friend designed and built this room. And what we now use it for is we use it as a tea, we have a tea ceremony group in the center, at the culture center itself. And so they use this room, and you can see the tatami sitting around. The other thing that I should point out, and this is going back a bit, is that one of the people on our early board was a carpenter, or he's a man that works as a renovator. And so a number of the cases and the parts of our conference room were designed and built by Rob Leslie, who's a member. Again, we've had large contributions in our own community from non-Japanese people. And I guess if you're looking to the future, I'm assuming that that's the kind of makeup that we have. All we become are we're managers of a facility, and all we try to do is to attract people that have got some ideas relating to Japanese cultural activities that we could then support and hopefully try to get other people interested in pursuing it. So that's basically the way the community looks right now. There's always a fear that 5 years, 10 years from now, we're going to have a facility which is not being used at all. But the hope is right now, it's going on very much like it had been in the 90s and in the 2000s. And hopefully it'll go on like this for a number of years. But somewhere along the way, we're going to have some additional stimuli to get things going again. So we're at that stage now where we're sitting there thinking, how do you encourage people to come out? Do you aim at people with a Japanese background, or do you aim at people with a Japanese Canadian background, or do you aim at the non-Japanese population generally? And my own feeling is that I think in the future, to make a culture center as ours grow, you have to appeal to the larger audience, that is the larger population within the community. So we have to aim at what might interest non-Japanese people in coming and using the facilities, and coming and using whatever cultural activities that we develop. We have Mochitsuki in early December, and this is again, it's a gathering of our community members that don't normally show up to activities, but they bring their young families and their grandchildren out to the Mochitsuki, and so we can get people numbering in the order of over 300, 400 people, which is in the location, as you can see, we don't do it here. We rent space in an Italian soccer club facility, and they've been very good to us over the years. And the space is adequate. That we have within our cultural center group itself, we have a program where we try to have cooking classes, and we have craft workshops. And so that's our contribution to the cultural milieu of the city. And these are reasonably well supported, quite often by the same people, but we get people that are non-Japanese that are interested in these things, and they'll come out. But fortunately, we've had very determined and strong-minded people from Japan who also have taken on these leadership, especially for the association, for the OJCA. We've had very good people from Japan, young people. And when I say young, I mean less than 50. But people that have come from Japan and taken a leadership role and taken an active part in becoming affiliated with the national body. People like myself, when the whole question came up, again, I said, you know, why get to, we've got problems enough of our own. But these people had enough vision that they said, look, if ever there are any major problems that affect the whole community, by becoming a part of a national body is a lot better than just being a local body. And they're right.